7 o'clock. I'd like to call the meeting of the Laconia City Council, July 22nd, 2024, in the Armand Baldock Council Chambers to order. I would like to ask Chief Jewett if he'd lead us in the salute to the flag.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Chief. We are joined by our recording secretary, Katie Gargano. Madam Secretary, would you call the roll, please?
Counselor Cheney.
Here.
Counselor Susie.
Here.
Counselor Hoffman.
Present.
Counselor Haynes.
Here.
Counselor Bogert.
Here.
Counselor Felch.
Yes, I'm here.
I beg the audience, pardon. I'm Mark Haynes. I'm the counselor from Ward 4. I am the Mayor Pro Temp. Mayor Hosmer is on vacation. We do have a quorum, and we are joined by our city manager, Kurt Beatty, and Glenn Smith, our finance director. I'd like to ask the council's indulgence for a couple of items. The last 2 weeks have been tragic in our community. We lost one of our oldest citizens, John Gauthier, and we lost one of our youngest, Aria. So I'd like to ask the council's indulgence that we have a moment of silence, please. Thank you, Council. I'd also like to, at this point in time, call on Councilor Felch. Would you, Councilor Felch has a couple of items he'd like to mention and discuss.
Yeah, so last Friday, we had a vigil for Aria and her brother Philip at Levitt Park. I want to thank Sequoia and everybody that helped organize it, and I want to thank everybody that came. We had a pretty good turnout. Also, Philip's still in the hospital. Things are looking okay. But we want to light up his way home. His mother, Chantel, says that his favorite color is orange. So we'd ask everybody, if you have an outside light, please change it to an orange light so we can have Philip come home. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilor Felch. Okay. Thank you, Council, for your indulgence. We have some housekeeping as far as accepting minutes. 7A, the council budget meetings of June 3rd, 2024. Minutes of the Laconia City Council budget meeting of June 3rd, 2024 were distributed to the members of the City Council on July 16th, 2024. With no corrections or changes submitted to the clerk, the minutes will be accepted as distributed. 7B, the City Council budget meetings of June 10th, 2024. Minutes of the Laconia City Council budget meeting of June 10th, 2024 were distributed to the members of the City Council on July 16th, 2024. With no corrections or changes submitted to the clerk, the minutes will be accepted as distributed. 7C, the minutes of the Laconia City Council budget meetings of June 17th, 2024. Minutes of the Laconia City Council budget meetings of June 17th, 2024 were distributed to the members of the Laconia City Council on July 16th, 2024. With no corrections or changes submitted to the clerk, the minutes will be accepted. And last but not least, Laconia City Council regular minute meetings of July 8th, 2024. The minutes of the council meeting of July 8th, 2024 were distributed to the members of the Laconia City Council on July 16th, 2024, With no corrections or changes submitted to the clerk, the minutes will be accepted as distributed. I would like to ask the council's indulgence to just move item 21D, Resolution 2024-14, approval of the bonding for Laconia Library. The City of Laconia and the library trustees seek to complete numerous repairs on the Gale Memorial Library building. The scope of the work includes repointing water joints, replacing of skylights, as well as repairs to the roof, the south chimney, the window trims, and other areas. All work is considered normal maintenance and repairs and would be required for a 121-year-old building that has been in constant use for more than a century. The scope of the work was developed by the firm of Bonnet, Page and Stone after thorough inspection of the facility. The cost of the bond will depend on the interest rates at the time of the issue. Given current rates, as anticipated, the cost for the proposed 20-year term will be $215,000. City manager recommends approving this resolution authorizing the bond for this purpose of funding the library repairs. We have three motions to this. The first motion is I move the reading and resolution of 2024-14 in its entirety and to be read by title only. Motion by Councilor Cheney, by Councilor Phelps, seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, raise your hands. Second motion is I move the first reading of Resolution 2024-14 relative to authorizing bond and notes of the city in the amount of $360,000 in fund repairs for the Laconia Library. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Councilor Susie? Councilor Bogart? Is there any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor, raise your hand. Third motion is I move to schedule a public hearing on August 12th, 2024, during the regular city council meeting to gather public input prior to any action being taken. Do I have a motion? Councilor Hoffman? Councilor Phelps seconds. Sorry, Councilor Hoffman. Is there any discussion? Seeing none? All those in favor? It's unanimous? Okay. Thank you, library trustees, and all right, back to the regular agenda. Consent and action items. Temporary traffic order 2024-11 Acting Academy Children's Business Fair. The Acting Academy students and supporters will again be holding the Children's Business Fair in City Hall parking lot on Saturday, August 10th, 2024. This is a recurring event with no charges. In your packet is a schematic of the area that will be blocked off. The motion is I move to approve the temporary traffic order 2024-11 for the Acton Academy Children's Business Fair as presented. Councilor Susie, Councilor Bogart second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? It's unanimous. Okay. We are, item 9 is citizens' comments for matters not on the agenda. This is a time allotted by the council for anyone that's present to address the council with matters not on the agenda.
Would that fall under the trash can?
No, that's coming, sir.
Oh,
Yes, ma'am.
Almost there.
If you just give your name and your address.
Sure. My name is Jennifer Kreitzer. I live on Pickerel Pond Road.
Okay.
So obviously, Pickerel Pond Road has been brought up a few times in previous meetings. First, I just want to thank the city council for accepting ownership of the road, and just recently taking steps to fix, you know, the road, which was obviously extremely damaged. I had incorrectly assumed that the road was being paved. You know what they say about assuming, so. I basically am here today because I have a few concerns, and I just wanted to present those concerns. So, a couple things. The first one is timeline. I know in the document titled Laconia Project Updates, June 2024, I know that has since been updated. It's noted that basically it's considered it's, you know, I'm paraphrasing here, but a temporary fix until such time there are sufficient funds to upgrade the road. So one of my questions is there an approximate timeline for that funding? Or is it just sort of as it comes up?
We don't really have a time frame yet, not that it's short or long, just not a defined time frame.
Okay, makes sense. The second one, you know, our road is posted at 35 miles per hour. Now the road is no longer a paved road. Just curious if, with the road changes, if it's possible to lower that speed limit, knowing that obviously that doesn't necessarily mean people are gonna suddenly slow down on the road, but it might be good to not have people going.
Yeah.
I mean, people went fast before and it was a horrible road, so I'm just thinking, so I just wanted to put that out there. Another one is, has to do with traffic. The traffic on Pickerel Pond Road has in the last few years significantly increased. I think that people coming off of exit 23, if they use their GPS to go to like the Weirs or areas over in that direction, Pickerel Pond Road is a great cutover, obviously. I think the GPS sends people down that road. So just generalized traffic has increased. In addition to just, you know, there's a lot of truck traffic. I did notice that Lane Road, which is kind of similar to Pickerel Pond Road, does have a posting for no trucks allowed other than deliveries. So I don't know if there's specific criteria that a road has to meet in order for that to be posted, but I just, again, wanted to kind of put that out there for something consideration. You know, I feel like having Pickerel Pond Road now gravel, it's kind of gravel and asphalt millings, I guess. Being traveled as much as it is, seems like the fix will not last quite as long because now it's more susceptible to degradation and things like that. Another issue that's more specific to me, I am one of 2 paved driveways on the road. Not on the whole road, but the sections that were reclaimed. So I definitely have a concern now where there is such a lip between my driveway and the road. I have a concern that during the winter with plowing and stuff that it could possibly cause issues with my driveway if the plow were to catch it or anything like that. So really just concerns that I wanted to present. Again, I am grateful that the city council has taken ownership and is working to fix the road, but those are just some of my concerns.
Okay,
Thank you for
Thank
your
you.
time.
thank you. The city manager took notes, and he will, as far as things that he can look at and that thing, he'll move towards that.
And I'll update you guys at the next meeting with just kind of what we talked about, but I'll give you my card and you
Great.
can, just so I can have your contact information.
Thank you so much.
All right, thank you very much. There are no interviews, there are no nominations, communications, we have a public hearing. Item 13, public hearing on ordinance 2024-194-5, providing providing additional solid waste containers to residential properties in the city of Laconia. Notice of the public hearing was made available on July 11th, 2024. The edition of Laconia Daily Sun, posted at Laconia City Hall, Laconia Community Center, Laconia Public Library, and the offices of SAU. It is 7:15, and I will open the public hearing. Yes?
My name's Dave Hilliard. I live on Jewett Street. And I have some apartments there. And when we distributed trash containers, I got informed that my apartment building that has 3 apartments could only get 2 cans. And that the cans should be shared by the 3rd apartment. Well, you don't know what kind of a hassle that turned into. They were fighting on who was going to take the trash out. She's putting too much trash in a can, so I can't put my trash in. So I went back over to Public Works to see if I could get another container. I was denied, and I'm not used to the word no. I vibrated a little bit. And then I got informed that the reason why I can't have the 3rd trash can is because I'm not on the tax bill. And I said, wait a minute. I pay taxes, so back to the city hall I go to find out why I'm not on the tax bill. And they said it was their mistake. So they shot a text message over to the Public Works. I'm not mentioning any names. And I still got denied. So tonight I'm here to say, why can't I have another trash can with all the things that we have going on in the world? I'm over here pleading for a trash can. I'm just like, wow, this is a bit much. So I don't know how we can resolve this problem, but I'd appreciate it if I could get some more containers, because what I did was I took my containers over to the 3rd apartment and said, here we go, girls. Now you don't have any reason why you can't put the trash out. But then that caused an inconvenience to me, because maybe I shouldn't be telling this, but my next door neighbor is Harry Bean. We're related. And I would check his cans to see if there was enough room for me to put my trash in. And, you know, I mean, I'm a resident, I pay taxes. I should be allowed to have another set of trash cans.
I'll look into Dave's specific case, and if it falls into something other than what we're gonna talk about later tonight, I'll address it either way with him, so he has the update, either way moving forward.
I thank
There's a
you
couple
very
different
much.
ways we'll look at it, and I'll take a look at it with you, and.
I'm not one to carry on and cause a lot of conflict. I'd rather resolve it. And with 22 years in the Navy, like I said, I'm not used to hearing no.
Dave,
Okay, gentlemen.
what
Aye.
number do you live on Jewett Street?
Where do I, 18.
18.
18, and I have 12 Jewett and 10 Jewett.
I used to
10
own-
Jewett has
used to
2
own 12
apartments. Huh?
I used to own 12 Jewett.
Okay, so then you know what I'm talking about. You know, that little back apartment, well, it gets quite used. They have quite a bit of trash. I find it hard to believe, but it happens. Okay, gentlemen, I want to thank you for listening to me, and now I'll go and sob up my tears somewhere else.
All right, thank you, Mr. Hilliard. Is there anyone else? Yes, sir.
My name is Dan. I live on Moulton Street. It's right near the Wow Trail behind Domino's. There's a piece of land next to my neighbor that is owned by the city of Laconia and Parks and Rec specifically. And I'm not sure if it continues, but I know kind of right around the bend, it's specifically Parks and Rec, and then it goes into private land. kind of down that side behind Domino's on Odell Lake. And so it's very wooded over there and tons of pine trees, and there's been issues in the past, for many years now, I would assume, of homeless people going down there and camping and putting their tents. And now, I know people have called in the past, and I'm just worried about all of the trash that's left behind and the pollution that it's creating in the lake, because I often walk my dog down that trail, and there's, trash here and there is one thing, but I mean, last year there was propane tanks found and other hazardous materials that were sitting directly right next to the lake. So, just in terms of kind of police feedback, when I myself have called and neighbors have called, it seems to be, oh, we'll take care of it eventually. And a neighbor of mine had called, and a police officer had told him they have until 11 a.m. the next day to get out, to remove their tent, to remove everything they had. And it wasn't until 2, 3, 4 days later that we're still now battling this issue. And more trash is beginning to accumulate. So,
We're aware of your problem, and it's just not there. It's other places.
Yeah.
So, city manager's making a note, and he will address that.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else? Okay. There are no presentations. The mayor's report. I have a couple of things. I received, about a month ago, a nice note, but it was consistent with some complaints about crosswalks not being painted, people not stopping for crosswalks. I think you get the drift. I did get an email back from this lady, not a constituent of mine, but a citizen of Laconia. She's very appreciative of the fact that they've been painted. She's appreciative of the fact that it looks now like some of the people are getting it, stopping on crosswalks, looking for the light and the whole works. So just wanted the council to know that there are people that appreciate the department's effort, and there are some things that take time, but there's a little bit of control over it. So that's my second thing. Is I wanted to thank Councilor Cheney and Councilor Hoffman for attending with me the ribbon cutting for the Carey House. I don't know if you've been by it, councilors. It's been totally remodeled inside and out. It looks great. They're very appreciative for the help they've got, and they do play a very important role in our community. So, and last but not least, I wanted to share this with the council that I had an opportunity to attend a Board of Adjustment meeting last week, so you're familiar with the Board of Adjustment, Council Broga. We owe those people, they are volunteers. We owe them such a vote of gratitude. You cannot imagine. They have to be construction managers, they have to be engineers, they have to be lawyers, they have to understand things that most of us would have to look up, and, they're confronted with people that want the Board of Adjustment to say absolutely yes to everything. So I'd like to I wanted to share that with you, councilors, that, for volunteers, they deserve our appreciation. They do great work. So that's the end of the mayor's report, and I will open it up to council comments. Councilor Cheney.
Can I add that it's not just the ZBA, it's most of the boards and commissions in the city. Those folks deserve a round of applause with regularity. Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. I had asked at our last meeting about Lewis Street and an Airbnb problem, and I understand there may have been a solution to that.
I checked our planning director has advised me that they are no longer on any of the sites selling or for renting purposes, and that the driveways have been empty, so it appears that they took the message. They do know that in the letter that they sent out, we do try to give them all the information, and they did receive the letter that said if they want to try to use this as a property, we do have an opportunity for an exemption within all of our zones. It doesn't usually get used, but it does have the opportunity, and we haven't heard anything yet.
Thank you. The manager and I had some correspondence with regards to the lights at Elm Street, and I saw where the Public Works Director, who lives out off of Meredith Center Road, commented that he's been through the light and hadn't noticed a problem. I think I told you, Mr. Manager, that the problem is southbound on Parade Road. I think I mentioned to you in a recent email that 3 cars can get through. I know that because I was the 4th car. And if you want a definition of road rage, you want to see me right after that happens. So, in any case, I'm hoping that the city engineer may have some luck with the state transportation department. I think I said in my note that I think the problem's timing, but anyway, if you can please look into that. It was my understanding, I shouldn't say that, I believe I heard the mayor say that our loitering ordinance mirrors that of Manchester's, or do you recall?
Yes, I
Sorry about
remember.
being camping.
Well, my recollection is he mentioned the fact that the question came up about camping on the streets. I don't remember specifically if it had to do with loitering, but I remember the fact that back when there was trouble with motorcyclists and camping on sides of the roads and wherever they wanted to camp. But I remember he mentioned that. I don't know, Kurt, if you...
No, we do have an ordinance on camping on public property, and we have exercised it on a number of occasions. I would just mention that this is going to be a topic on the agenda for the Government Operation Ordinance Committee meeting,
Yes.
which is
Thursday.
Thursday.
Yep.
So this will be discussed
Good.
more openly, and it is on the docket to discuss there.
I just wanted to express my concern that we pay particular attention to this.
Yeah.
The problem out here is getting worse almost on a daily basis.
Yep.
And this may be coming up later tonight, but I wanted to mention, there's some discussion about impact fees and increasing those. And there are numerous references to statute in that, and I was hoping before we voted on it, we could look at the statutes as well as your recommendations for fees. As you go through it, it ends up being part of the first part, and and it's hard to really understand what the requirements are.
That's not on tonight's, but I'm not sure when, but it will be coming forward.
Yeah. Okay. I think we all got the email with regards to the private sewer ordinance, and I wondered what happened with that. There was the discussion that Southdown is not coming into the city's sewer system and isn't, according to this writer, required by the EPA to do annual or...
I'm not ready to give an update on it tonight,
Okay.
but would be glad to for you.
If you
Yes.
put that on the list
Yeah.
for me. I know this is short notice, but the Public Safety Committee met with the school department, and we're looking at a solution to the Elm Street problem, one of the things that was, I guess, required is we'd need an RFP for an engineering firm to look at that project. And I wondered if we had a chance to get that.
Yeah, it's it's been drafted, just in the review, and we'll be ready to go.
But you have to come from us to
Nope.
get,
Not for the RFP.
no, but I mean for the money.
For the money to
right.
do anything out, yeah.
I'm
If
trying to
anything.
figure out when that's gonna be, because,
There you go.
perfect, thank you.
Tight window.
And lastly, I don't know where this discussion was held, but I was with someone, I think it may be the Counselor for Ward 3, but we discussed laptops and new laptops, and I wondered if there was any, I'm sorry?
Tablets.
I'm sorry, tablets. And I wondered if there was any update on that.
They're here, I forgot the key. You'll have them next meeting.
There you go.
There you go.
The other thing I wanted to ask the city is, there are times would it be easier for us to be able to take them and then bring them back later or whatever? Is that possible?
We can figure out a plan
Okay.
for anything.
That'd be very helpful.
Okay.
Okay.
There'll be a few things that, see, I work for you, but there's a few things that all the employees have to follow before they can bring it out, so we'll have to go through all that stuff.
We understand that. I understand it.
Thank you,
Mr.
Counselor
Mayor.
Cheney. Anyone else? Counselor Borget?
I just want to mention about the crosswalks, and I'm happy to see that they were painted and stuff and up to date. But there's one in particular I'm going to bring back up, I brought up over a year ago, was the one in South Main Street where Province Road and South Main Street and all of that come together next to the park. And it's been beautifully striped and everything, but for some reason, people driving through there are extremely blind to the fact that people are in the crosswalk. And I think we need to find, because there's gonna be a kid get run over, and it's gonna, I know it's not the city, but it's a problem that the city somehow needs to address, either through law enforcement and starting to ticket some of these people that just blow. I've had it happen to me where I'm standing in the middle of the road and the car headed towards Concord does not care. It's gonna go. And this is early in the morning, so I know they're in a hurry to get to their jobs. The people coming from the Concord direction or south, they seem to stop if they have the ability, so I haven't had a problem with that. It's most of the people leaving town, and they'll just blow it and don't care, don't look back, don't even attempt to stop or anything.
We haven't identified a location for the, we purchase each year one of those lighted crosswalk setups. We haven't identified a location for one this year, so that's something I'll talk with the Public Works Director and the counselors of the wards. And I know that actually crosses both of your wards, because it crosses the street, and we can have that discussion.
Okay.
Especially
Council
since there's
Suzie?
a park right there. Especially since there's a park right there, but my question, Steve, was, maybe you know, because I just can't remember, do we need more lights there? I'm talking about lighted area, not traffic
This is
lights.
daylight. This is
Daylight.
extreme daylight. This has nothing to do with the darkness. This is just an
Just like
absence
Court
of
Street.
wanting to
Good luck.
find a
Same thing,
brake
yeah.
pedal.
Just add one.
Sure. Go ahead.
And I know we talked about this a year or so ago, and then it became with, do we put one over by the middle school across in North Main Street, or do we put one here? And I graciously said that probably by the school is more important than over crossing North Main Street. It is probably more important than this, but that was like 2 years ago. So if we're continually doing
Yeah, I
this, then I would highly recommend some other alternative for us.
I don't need a vote if there's consensus. We can look at what it'll take to get that down there. I know there'll be some fencing issue. We'll work with Parks and Rec if that's the one, just because of the where Wyatt Park is. But we can, if that's consensus, that's where we'll look.
Okay.
If I
Councilor
might just
Cheney?
add, it just came to me. I went to a funeral today at the cemetery, Union,
Yes.
is that?
Yeah.
At that V.
Yep.
When I came back, west, there's a tree hanging over a stop sign. You can't see it. Somebody needs to cut a limb off.
It's,
Where
it's,
Garfield comes out.
it's,
Is
it's
that
the
where Garfield comes on to South
intersection
Main?
of Garfield and
Yeah,
Yeah.
South Main.
Grant, or not Grant,
If you go by the park,
something
106 goes this way, you go to
That's
the right,
Garfield.
that V,
Garfield Street.
it's Garfield.
coming back this way, coming back this way.
It's Garfield and, not Grant, 'cause Grant's the next one down, but the one right on the park,
Oh,
the edge of the park.
Yeah,
Oh,
Webster.
Grant Street is that
Webster.
corner. Yeah,
Yep.
okay. Any other councilors?
Thank you.
You're welcome, Councilor Bogart. Okay. Committee reports.
I'll just,
Councilor Susie?
Finance Committee just met earlier this evening, and we took care of the bond for the airport runway and hangars and stuff, so that's done. That's completed. The Finance Director has the paperwork, so we can move ahead with that.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Liaison reports. Councilor Bogart.
Just one comment, as the liaison to the library, I wanted to make mention that they had an event at the Colonial. I think it was a magic show that went on, and they had an awesome turnout of about 165 people with tickets. So that was pretty awesome, and we look forward to the library being able to put more shows on at the Colonial.
I have a question for
Okay, thank you.
Steve, who
Councilor
paid for
Susie.
that?
Huh?
Who paid? Was that Putnam Fund or was that library funds?
I'm not quite sure with that.
I'm just wondering, that's all. I mean, I thought it was great. Took my
I do know
granddaughter.
they do work with the Putnam Fund, and so they're excited about being able to utilize the Colonial Theater.
And do you know if the theater charged them for,
No, they do not charge them
Okay.
per the contract that was set up. And I asked the same question when it was being reported to make sure that they weren't being charged and that all the contractual agreements are being followed accordingly to all the contracts involved, because there's like 3 different contracts that merge to make this.
the reason I asked is that from during one of our appointment committees, we talked to people from the Putnam Fund, and they were being charged some pretty hefty rates for use of the theater.
Well, I think that should be reviewed
Oh,
because
so we.
they, if I understand my contracts, and I'm no lawyer by no means, just being a layperson, the library, working with the Putnam Fund, has 12 occasions a year that they can utilize the Colonial Theater. And that was all done through a memorandum of understanding and signed off by the city manager at that time. And there was a hefty donation from the library to the Colonial Theater, which provided the memorandum of understanding. In which case, then the city itself has a contract with the promoters. And
Okay. Just so you know, the Putnam Fund doesn't have that graciousness or opportunity, okay?
well, if they work with the library, I think they would have that
For
opportunity.
the library, but not for the regular Putnam Fund shows that come to the Colonial, for example, okay? Doesn't have that,
We
doesn't,
could work on that.
we've tried, okay?
Okay. All right. Item 19 on the agenda, citizens' request to comment on current agenda items. I invite anyone that has any comments, questions regarding items that are currently on the agenda tonight? All right, seeing none, we will move on. City Manager's report, it's yours, Kurt.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So you have two documents with you tonight. First one's the project update. Old Prescott Hill Road and Daisy Gardner were completed. As was brought up, Pickle Pond Road has had reclaiming done, which, certainly with the timing of what was questioned, because we don't have the exact time of when we're gonna be able to do a full reconstruction of that road, which is what it's gonna take. If you'd driven out there, it was quite a rough road to try to drive on. The reclaiming, it's not gonna make it asphalt strength, but it's going to make it, a much better road to be driving on. They're also working on clearing the drainage in the ditch area, so, there are improvements going on to the road. Certainly is nowhere near the end, as we know, but it is gonna be a benefit to the, residents along that road. Academy Street Bridge is still going on with work, still scheduled to be completed by August 30th. The goal of that timing is to be done before school starts. Skipping around a little bit, Church Street Bridge has been completed, and I think that project went really well. The company was really great to work with, and I think the signage worked, the stoplight seemed to work. It was well done project. I'm gonna skip to the third page of this document is the O-Pee-Chee Loop. So there's been a lot of work going on. Councilor Felch has been involved with it. Our DPW has been involved with it. We've had private entities involved with it. The Wild Trail Group, there's been a lot of different entities. We are still working through the agreement to exactly what this is the connection with where the Wild Trail comes into Lakeport and then continues up Elm Street towards Franklin Street. I think we're just about there. Our Assistant DPW Director just had a meeting the other day with the Lake Street and Planning Commission, who oversees the grant. And I think we're finally where we need to be. We have the money for it. We know what we're doing with it. It's now just dotting the i's and crossing the t's, and that project will at least be moved along. Again, the only reason it's taken time is that there is a couple different agencies that have ideas of what they would like it to look like, including the city. And the only thing we don't want to do is spend money and then all of a sudden say, well, what you did was great, and now we're going to change it, so we're wasting anybody's money, our own private Wild Trail. We don't want to waste money. So that's really the only reason this is taking time, is we're just trying to make sure we're all on the same page and our money is being used appropriately. I think I'm skipping along to you. On page 4, there's an item, sewer collection system is listed on there. I'm not going to get into the depths of this because you're going to start to see this over the next couple council meetings with some projects going in up on White Oaks Road. There is some city sewer mains that are going to be going in. That's also going to tie in some people that are not on city sewer if they choose to. There's some ordinance changes that we need to make it so they can waiver out of it. It's going to be your decisions on allowing that. So over the next 2 meetings to 3 meetings, we want to get it wrapped up within August. So really over the next 2 meetings, you'll have a lot of information on this directly, make a few decisions, and this project will move along relatively smoothly. Weirs Beach Restoration, DPW continues to work with DES. I'm sorry, not DPW. Parks and Rec continues to work with DES on probably the right way of looking at it. Certainly we need to do some restoration of what's there, but let's stop the problem as to why the sand is being filtered away. They have some ideas that maybe weren't necessarily addressed early on. They've identified those, so I think we got to put the stop to the problem before we fix the problem, and they've been addressing it. I know Parks and Rec has been taking a much more lead on this lately, and they've been reporting that out to the committees. To the commission. Last thing I'll have for you is it's a very minor update, but Laconia State School, they did close their bids last Thursday. State has those now, and they also have our letter that was sent out after the last meeting requesting that we be part of the process, and we should be hearing more about that in the next few days.
Before you go into that, does the council have any comments, questions? Okay. Kurt, I had a comment and I had a question.
Okay.
Comment was, as much as I've been a critic and wanted to make sure that things were done in an orderly process as far as bridges were concerned, Academy Street Bridge, I haven't heard a peep from anybody. It seems to be very orderly, it seems to be the people have accepted it, and I think this time, the correspondence in the newspaper, and I've heard it on the radio, so people are aware of the whole situation, so my thanks, congratulations.
That's great to hear. You know, we've had a lot of success with the last couple of ones, Academy Street, Church Street, Highland Street, Messer Street. So we've been really trying to, and I appreciate that. And, you know, obviously, Public Works Department hears that, and they've been passing on, so thank you.
My concern and question was, and I hope the reporter from the Daily Sun doesn't take offense to this, but the picture that appeared in the paper as far as people using the Winnipesaukee River across from the park, Rotary Park, and I just want to make sure that that we're on top of it, doesn't become a communal beach.
I will look into it. I did not see the picture that you're talking about, but I will take a look at it.
That's, that particular part of that river is dangerous when their dam is open, and there are whirlpools, and there's all kinds of things going on there, and I'd hate to see somebody decide to jump off the railing at Rotary Park and find out that right now the water's a little shallow.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. My other document with you tonight, we'll make relatively quickly, is the monthly economic development report. You'll see a decrease in our unemployment rate, which is certainly a good thing. On the second page, took a little bit of a decrease in our CPIU for the month, dropping us down to 3.2 for the year. So, you know, I don't want to project out anything, but certainly projecting out our number's going to be a lot lower than what we saw last year. The other thing I'll mention is that we are in the process, as you approved, our Economic Development and Housing Director position. That ad will be going out in the paper this week. We're going to advertise it. We're going to give it a little more time than we normally advertise for to try to make sure it's out there a bunch and is seen. Our goal is to be interviewing in less than a month's time, and their hiring date for late September is our goal. So everything's on track, and so hopefully we get that out pretty soon.
May I ask a question, please?
Councilor Bogat, go ahead.
Thank you. Is that being advertised just locally, or would that be advertised in a broader
No, we'll
reach?
take quite a broad approach to it.
So we can get someone
New
really-
England. New England will be
England.
is sort of our target. Yep.
Thank you.
Yes.
Anyone else?
That's all I have.
Okay. Thank you, Kurt. Moving on, new business, 21A. Article I, Fire, Ordinance 2024-149, Article I, Fire Prevention. The current fire prevention and emergency medical service ordinance is updated and requires changes to update the ordinance to reflect current industry standards. Kurt, would either you or Councilor Jewell like to comment on that before we take motions?
Yeah, if Chief has anything he wants to say on it, he has the updates. If you'd like to hear what the changes are, he's here.
Chief?
All right, good evening, councilors. So what we really try to do is modernize the fire prevention ordinance. It has become dated over the years. There's some conflicts with current standards and state laws. So when we hired a fire prevention deputy chief, that was one of his tasks, was to go through and highlight some of those things that need to be changed. And so he has done that, and I've worked with him on it. And there's really 6 or 7 things that need to be adjusted. One of the biggest is the fee schedule. We haven't updated our fee schedule for permits since 2007. So we did some research from other municipalities and areas throughout the state, and that's mainly going to impact permit applications for mechanical installations. So your boilers, your furnaces, HVAC, your propane tanks, oil tanks, things like that. Those get done on a daily basis. So that has been updated. And just some other verbiage in some of the language to kind of keep up with industry standards. One of them is this term called cluster development. That's in our fire prevention ordinance, which is 10 or more units or houses. And that puts into effect, the way it's written right now, certain things that doesn't necessarily coincide with current standards or state law. So we change that wording in the ordinance to make it a little bit more reasonable and to reflect what's going on right now as far as fire prevention and local regulations. One of the big ones as well is right now the city has a municipal master box fire alarm system that's been around for a very long time. And it's becoming more challenging to maintain and keep up. And the reliability isn't what it once was, and we only have one person left that knows really anything about that system. So we're in the process of trying to phase that system out. And instead of having that municipal system that we're reliable for, we're having them switch to a listed third-party monitoring company. So that is one of the changes as well.
Okay.
I have a
Counselor-
question, if that's all right.
Counselor
Yes.
Hoffman?
Yeah, I looked through this. I noticed that you're making updates to comply with NFPA 2018, but we're changing to 21
Correct.
next month. So I
Correct.
was just wondering if you
Yes.
anticipate this is going to have to get changed again to comply with 21, or do you think as written it's going to?
I think as written, as far as what I've seen and what I've heard about the changes in 21, I don't think it'll have any impact on what's taking place with these changes.
Fair enough.
Anyone else? Okay, Chief,
Thank you very much.
very much. All right, councilors, this particular item has 3 motions to it. First motion, I move to waive the reading of ordinance 2024-149 in its entirety and to read by title only. So moved by Councilor Cheney, seconded by Councilor Felch. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Unanimous? Thank you, councils. A second is I move the first reading of ordinance 124-149 relative to fire prevention and emergency medical services. Do I have a motion? Councilor Hoffman, Councilor Susie seconds. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Unanimous? Third motion, I move to schedule a public hearing on August 12th, 2024, during the regular city council meeting to gather public input before any action is taken. Councilor Felch, Councilor Hoffman seconds it. Gentlemen, is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? It's unanimous. 21B. Ordinance 2024-235-41-A, residential accessory uses. The proposed amendment to the zoning ordinance will permit accessory dwelling units by right. All ADUs must follow the prescribed permitting process, including the revisions. The proposed amendment was reviewed and recommended by the Government Operation and Ordinance Subcommittee. In accordance with Article 14 of the City Code and the City Council City Council must refer all zoning ordinance amendments to the Planning Board for review and recommendations, as well as a public hearing. It is currently scheduled to go before the board at its August 6, 2024 meeting. In accordance with RSA 675-2, Article 14 of the City Code authorizes the city council to submit a proposed amendments to the zoning ordinances to the Laconia Planning Board in review and public hearing and recommendations. There's no fiscal impact. Rob, would you or Tyler like to?
Good evening, councilors. So I'll just give you a brief history on ADUs in the city. So in 2017, the city adopted its first ADU ordinance. And then subsequently in 2021, the planning board proposed an amendment to make ADUs permitted by right. And they removed the size limitations to it. And that was voted on and approved by the planning board and sent up here to city council, where it was then tabled and referred back to the Government Operations and Ordinance Subcommittee. So we took that up on July 10th, and we discussed everything. And I had proposed an amendment to that original amendment that was sent up in 2021 to continue to allow ADUs to be permitted by right as opposed to being by special exception as they are today. But I reestablished the limitation for the size, which was previously removed by the last the planning board in 2021. So what we did is we looked at the state RSA that was proposed this year, and they increased the size to 1,000 square feet. So we matched that. And then we updated some of the language that was a little bit out of date. We updated some of the abbreviations in the proposed language. And then we added some clearer language to allow a little bit better management of ADUs by allowing a little bit more lenient restrictions on how we interpret the ordinance, as in the height of where the ADU was placed, as opposed to a little bit being more restrictive. So if somebody had a ranch, for example, and they wanted to put their ADU in a barn, well, the barn might be larger in height than the ranch. So our current zoning ordinance wouldn't have allowed that without a variance to allow it to be higher than the primary dwelling unit. So we've kind of removed that to allow some deviations to that, and to also fix the language in there about having them connect, because obviously if you have a detached accessory dwelling unit, you don't want to have a tunnel that leads to, or a enhanced breezeway that connects these two structures. So we've kind of fixed that. So that's very much what we've tried to go with. And then I think the council's other concern was, how are we going to regulate it? So we added in that anybody that wanted to do an ADU would have to come in and get an administrative review application. And when they submit that application and their building permit, that gives the planning department the opportunity to review everything to make sure that it meets all the requirements that will be set forth in the zoning ordinance. So I think we've kind of accomplished everything that the council was looking for in them sending it to that subcommittee. But I'm very happy to take any questions, comments, concerns. Sir?
Councilor Cheney?
Rob, I had a couple of areas of concern, but one that jumped out at me was that it shall not be considered an additional dwelling unit for purposes of determining minimum lot size or development density of the property. Does that mean if you have a half-acre lot and your present home takes up half of that space, that you can build another half? I guess I'm saying, can they consume the whole lot?
No, so they would still have their green space requirements that they would have to meet. And this is not creating another additional unit. This is just, the house will remain a single-family dwelling unit with an occupancy of 1.
But I didn't see anywhere in here where it said they had to meet those green space requirements.
So,
Did I miss that?
yep, here, so, under 4, all the way, the last sentence that we did add in there, any new structure must conform to the required dimensional standards for the respective zoning district.
So that'd be setbacks on the side, the front, the rear,
And green space.
And green space, yep.
and green space.
The other question I had was the height, and they'll have to meet the height requirements, and I didn't see that explained.
Yep, that would, the height falls under the dimensional standards as well, so they'll still have to
Okay,
follow.
Yep,
Yep.
yep, I got it. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes,
Please.
Councilor Boga.
Couple of questions. On the height, we're still gonna have them maintain a 35-foot height?
Yes.
Okay. Under number 11, it said there must be at least one parking space for ADU in addition to parking requirements for single-family dwellings. And could we add in there that all parking shall be off-street parking?
It is in there.
Yep.
It is in there, I saw
As-
it.
Yep.
I didn't see it, and that's why I wanted to make sure that it specifically says they can't park in the street, because as our ever-dense neighborhoods, we're starting to show pressures of people parking in the street, indiscriminately parking in the middle, in the street and stuff. So I want to make sure that if the council agrees that we look at that. And number 2 is under 12, where the structure and lot must not be converted to a condominium or any other form of legal ownership distinct from the ownership of a principal single-family dwelling and not be used as short-term rental.
So actually,
In the zones, now, I'm more particular about that whole list of zones
Yep.
where all of a sudden we are marketing ADUs that are short-term rentals where we already have a housing problem and we have people from out of state that buy the second homes. They put an ADU, they can say they're living in the ADU and they can rent out their homes on a short-term basis. So I'm just trying to alleviate an issue that will cause more pressure on our people to be able to buy homes and live in Laconia instead of being marketed off on a business aspect to people who don't reside here, even though they claim they live here. So,
yeah, absolutely. So we actually already prohibit that. Within our short-term lodging ordinance, we specifically call out ADUs. And if the lot has been utilized or if the lot has an approved ADU on it, it prohibits them from doing short-term lodging in both the units.
but would it also in the ADU help them to understand that they can't go down the road and all of a sudden, I've seen this happen where applicants had said, oh, I thought I could do this, it didn't say I couldn't when I'm building something, and all of a sudden, as you shift right, because people don't do their homework, they find out, oh, it is there over here. So if we put it in both places, then there's no reason a person can say, I didn't know that. And if it's there, then this is just mainly saying per ordinance, blah, 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 that this cannot be used as a short-term rental. Something along those lines.
I'm sure we can come up with language to add in there to add that in there.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Is there anything else? Anyone else? Okay. I think we're going to have a motion, but I think the next items, you can just stay right there if you'd like.
You got it.
The motion is I move to refer the proposed amendment language contained in ordinance 2024-235-41-A to the planning board for their review and recommendations at their August 6, 2024 meeting. Do I have a motion? Counsel Beauguy?
I'll make,
Thank you. And Counsel Felch, seconds. Is there any discussion? Yes.
yes, sir. I would like that motion to also take into account what was discussed tonight so that when it moves forward, that we don't have to rehash this out and that it incorporates the discussion from the council tonight also as it moves forward.
Madam Clerk, did you have that?
I will get that.
Okay, Steve, did you want, excuse me, Counsel Beauguy, did you want that as an amendment or just in the minutes?
I think as an amendment to the motion, and I think it's pretty friendly if Mr. Felch.
Okay, we have an amendment to
Councilor
the
Felch?
motion.
Just to make a note, where this is going to the planning board, what you see come back to you could look differently than what you're sending their way, just.
But we
Yeah.
want to
No,
make
no,
sure
no, I
these
just-
concerns
no.
go to the
No,
planning board so
underst-
they could
understood.
understand.
Okay, Madam Clerk, did you have the amendment? Well, the discussion was, as far as I remember, White, says that
For the addition, if I may,
additions,
addition to the, all parking should be off-street, and that under number 11 and under number 12, not to be used as short-term rental, some form of verbiage of that, and under number 11,
okay,
thank you.
all right. There's an amendment on the table. So, any discussion? All those in favor? Okay, the amendment passes. Thank you.
So the amendment passed, now we got to
Yes,
do
I'm
the
sorry.
motion.
Okay, so now that we have the amendment is passed, now, the motion was to refer it to the planning board. We had a motion?
Yep, and
Okay.
a second.
Second. All those in favor? That passes. Okay, thank you, councilors. All right, item 21C. The proposed amendment to the zoning ordinance will allow the city to take more proactive and expedient approach to limiting the number of unroadworthy vehicles stored on non-residential lots. The proposed amendment was reviewed and recommended by legal counsel. The planning board first considered the proposed amendment on June 4th, 2024. The board then held a public hearing for the proposed amendment on July 2nd, 2024 meeting. Cheryl Bonner of Roller Coaster Road spoke in favor of the ordinance, specifically referring to the ugly unsightliness of multiple unroadworthy vehicles stored on single parcels, as well as safety concern for vehicles potentially leaking fluids if left unmaintained and unmonitored. Once the public hearing closed, the board voted 4-2 in recommending the proposed amendment to the city council for adoption. In accordance with RSA 675-2, Article 14, the city code authorizes the city council to submit a proposed amendment to the zoning ordinance to the Laconia Planning Board for review, public hearing, and recommendation. There is no fiscal impact. Rob, would you like to just give us a quick
Yep.
overview?
Quick overview. So we've been working with legal on trying to take enforcement actions on several properties within the city. And the problem was how our ordinance was written is that you only had to be either registered or inspected. So it kind of didn't help us out with making enforcement actions. So legal suggested that we change the or to an and. So we've done that. There was another issue of just requiring vehicles, the unregistered vehicle, to be in the rear of the lot. Sometimes it's still unsightly to have it there, and it wasn't really meeting the intent of what we believed city council was trying to achieve by having it in the rear of the lot. So we added in some additional language that the unregistered vehicle shall be kept out of view of the public and abutters by means of storage inside a structure or by suitable fencing or by trees or shrubbery sufficient to block visual access year-round. And then we also added in, never mind. We just made a couple grammatical corrections as well. But that was what we tried to add in there, to add in the screening and then add in the better enforcement mechanism.
I have a question.
Okay, Councilor Susan?
Is it just vehicles, or can it be boats and other unsightly items?
So this is just for vehicles. We have other language for another ordinance update that is going before planning board, probably not this meeting, but the following meeting that will try to remedy some of the recreational vehicles that we're seeing. So this no will not correct that, but we are working on a solution for that as well.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, anyone else? Councilor Hoffman?
So, the statement says, not more than one currently unregistered and uninspected vehicle shall be parked on any lot.
Correct.
The way I read that, that means if I were to if you register the vehicle, then it no longer meets that criteria, right? I feel like that end should be an or, right?
So
that the
it
intent?
was an or, and then legal had us change it to an and, so that had to be, it was both.
Can
That
I-
does not,
Can I
does
interrupt?
that make sense to anyone else?
Can I explain my feeling about it? We have a spot in my ward where there are dozens and dozens of vehicles that are unsightly, will never run again, but the person has enough money, he went out and registered every one of them.
Sure.
You'll never be able to get them inspected.
But the way I read this, not more than one currently unregistered and uninspected vehicle. So
Gotta be both.
it has to be unregistered and uninspected to apply to this. So if you register it, this no longer
I
applies,
see his point.
right?
Yeah.
I don't know, you might wanna take a look
No, I
at that.
think you're right.
No,
I'm very happy to send it back to legal for them to validate it again.
If I had a number of vehicles on my property, that is not out of the question. And someone knocked on my door and said I was in violation of this, I would make a strong argument that as long as I registered them, that this does not apply to me, right?
How does this,
Council Hoffman, are you?
Thank you.
Okay, Council Susie.
how does this, or does it not apply, I'm just looking at the legal side of it, to car dealership?
A car dealership is a different license than,
Okay, I just
but
want-
I do understand your, it would be, because all of theirs are uninspected and unregistered.
Right.
But, I see your point with that.
I just wanna make sure that, does it get, roller coaster road doesn't turn around and say, wait a minute, this is, you're singling me out, the guy's got a car dealership, he's got cars all over the lot. I'm just wanna make sure we don't have a problem there.
I don't know the definition of the car dealership and the license for that off the top of my head. But I can go back and I can get you a good answer to that.
Yeah, just make sure that we're putting ourselves in the box, that's all I ask.
Council Bogart.
Thank you. Does this have a grandfather in if someone's already having this issue?
No,
It doesn't grandfather them in to allow it to continue?
no.
Thank you.
Councilor Hoffman, was it your intent that we table this and send it back to legal?
Yeah, I want to make sure we get the wording right on this, because I think we're all in agreement on what the intention of this is and what we're trying to do here, but I'm not, the way I read it, that's not what it says to me.
So would you make a motion that we table?
I make a motion that we table this.
Okay, is there a second? Councilor Felch? Okay, it's non-debatable. All those in favor? That's tabled. Rob, would you take that back to legal?
You got it.
Thank you.
That's just semantics, though.
Yeah, and I totally agree with you, Eric.
Yeah.
Okay.
They want to do
Well,
this one.
you know, the devil's in the details.
Jesus.
They want to do this on the next one.
What's that?
Same thing on the next one.
21D. Rob, you sat down quickly. This proposal amendment of zoning ordinance will allow the city to take proactive, expedient approach to limiting number of unroadworthy vehicles stored in non-residential lots. The proposed amendment was reviewed and recommended by legal counsel, and the wording is the same. So can you give us an update
So it's
on this one?
It is the same language. We just had two accessory uses, which were the same thing. So we have a residential accessory use and a non-residential accessory use for unregistered and unlicensed vehicles in the city. And we updated both of them to reflect that and. So I would presume that you would want us to follow the same path forward.
Yep.
So-
Table.
A motion to table
You make
this?
a motion to table?
Yep.
Seconded by Counselor Cheney? Is there any discussion? Oh, there's no discussion on, sorry about that. All those in favor? No, when I've done this before, I always skip. Is there any discussion? So this time I just, Counselor Bogart.
May I ask the question?
Sure.
Is on the agenda the short-term lodging also?
No.
We're not talking about that tonight?
No?
No, I asked it be tabled at the planning board to look at longer.
Okay.
Along the lines of what I asked him earlier tonight, there's a lot of statutory language or references in there and what have you. I think we need to look at that a little longer.
Because I
and
had
harder.
some comments, so when it
Yeah.
does come, I do have
I think
a list of
It'll go
concerns.
back to the planning board? I'm sorry, Rob.
No, you're fine. So, we're gonna go back, I believe, to the governance and, the ordinance and
That-
subcommittee again. So we're updating it still with the suggestions.
Okay, yeah.
All
It'll
right,
be at the government ordinance.
so should one show up there and express their concerns?
You probably ought to. But
Okay.
speak to the chairman.
Mr. Chairman?
Chairman, I was demoted from that and speak to that
I'm the
chairman.
chairman.
Oh,
Chairman,
speak to
is
that
that
chairman.
where we should mention our
Yes.
concerns?
Yes.
Start there? Very good.
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
All right, unfinished business, because we did the library bond. 22A, providing additional solid waste container to residential properties in the city of Laconia. Discussed the city council at its June 10th, 24 meeting approved the criteria for providing additional solid waste containers to properties. The approved criteria as follows. Additional containers will be limited to single-family homes, duplexes, and triplexes. The authorization of additional containers for duplex and triplex are based on our occupancy approved at the city planning process. Each unit would be authorized one additional set. Properties who have selected the smaller containers, 35-gallon trash, 65-gallon recycling, are not eligible for additional containers. Councilors, Bert, would you just like to add anything? I mean, this has been to committee.
Yeah, I mean, if you want me to just hit the big highlights,
If you would.
yeah, the big highlights are this, like you said, it's gone through the Public Works Committee multiple times. It's been in front of this committee, the council. So containers, the people would be able to purchase at the dollar figure that's listed there, the $63 and $68. They would need to also purchase with that, a sticker, which is gonna be good for 1 year, to allow them to show the company picking up that that's what it is. And they will also have an annual fee that they will have to pay as well, whether they have one of each, or trash only, or recycling only. So if you have everything, you'd pay the $63 and the $68, you'd pay the $100 and the $532, and then annually you'd pay the $100 and the $532, or adjusted based on what Casella costs for picking up the waste. We're not planning on proration for these, but in the first year, if they come in October, November, you'll do a year plus a couple months. We'll order what we think we need to have on hand, but again, we're not trying to overload Public Works Department with a bunch of cans that aren't being used. But they'll work out all the logistics on that. So that is our option, that through all the vetting, to be able to give residents an option for having additional cans if they meet the criteria that you read out at the beginning. It won't change the types of buildings that are getting these, but it'll give them a little bit more option if they have it.
Thank you. Before we go to the three motions, is there any discussion?
Please.
Please. Yeah,
Thank you.
Council Bogan.
When they come in to buy a trash can, can they buy the trash can without buying the stickers?
No.
So
That was a question that came up, and we said no to that.
Now, is that in writing? That it's,
Yes, it's
you
in
must buy the sticker
it's in
first
the
and then?
ordinance.
It's in here.
It's in the ordinance, that's written
Okay.
in here.
Yes.
Now, if I may,
Yes.
it says additional can sticker, $100. And then one, trash only, because that's what we started with, is $305. So is it $100 for a sticker plus the 305?
Yes.
So it's $405 they have to pay
Plus the
for the
first year's-
first time,
No, the first time would be that plus the cost of the can.
plus the can.
Yep,
So it'd be the can, the $100, and the 305.
correct.
And then after that has been, first year's done, all they have to do is pay the 305
And the 100.
and the 100. So why do we even put a line item for the 100 to make it look confusing? Why don't we just, one set of can is $632, trash only is $405, and recycle only is
I
$328?
think the only reason we did it that way is the 100 is a number that we can probably leave constant. The 305 and those other numbers are going to be adjusted with,
Disposal
with
fees.
disposal fees and all that. I think that was why it was separated out into different lines.
Okay. Thank you.
Anything else? Okay. Like I said, we have three motions. I move to waive a reading of ordinance 2024-149-5 in its entirety and read by title only. Counselor Cheney, Counselor Felch seconds. Is there any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor? All unanimous. Second reading, I move the second reading of ordinance 2024-194-5 relative to providing additional solid waste containers to residential properties in the city of Laconia. Counselor Hoffman, Counselor Susie seconds it. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? And last, I move to approve ordinance 2024-194-5 relative to providing additional solid waste containers to residential properties in the city of Laconia as presented. Is there a motion? Counselor Felch? Seconded by Counselor Hoffman. Is there any discussion? Seeing none? All those in favor? Unanimous. Is there any other business to come before the council? Counselor Bogart.
Mr. Mayor, Pro Tem, I must have missed it and didn't write it down for item 21E, which is the approval of the bond. I don't remember ever voting and didn't write down voting to approve the,
Did we miss that?
No, we approved it last council meeting and went to the finance committee to approve the bond rate and selection of who's gonna take the bond. We did that earlier tonight before the city council meeting.
so
The bond
should
was
that be
approved.
noted in the record that, because it is an item that's showing no action, that
Well, there's two.
maybe we make a reference in the minutes that it was action taken previously on whatever date it was?
Can we just confirm which one you're talking about? You're talking about the library bond?
21E.
Well, there's two.
Approval of bonding for library repairs.
If you're looking at these, there's two 21Es. But if you're looking at the agenda item, it's correct order. So is it the library bond?
Yes, it's,
Okay.
it's 21E,
You
and I
guys
think
voted to
here
send
is
that to a public
21D.
Yeah, that just
But
goes,
No,
it's
you
to a
you
public
voted to
hearing.
send that to a public hearing.
that's all.
That's
Okay.
on a public hearing, that was approved
Okay.
earlier.
Yeah.
I stand, that's why I said I'm not sure I could have missed it, and
Well, it was
it
pulled
seemed like
forward.
I
It
did.
was the first
It
thing we
was
did.
pulled forward,
Yeah.
but that was.
Going to,
the-
yep, so that'll go to a public
Okay.
hearing.
Thank you, and I apologize for holding
Anything
up.
else, councilors? Thank you very much. We're adjourned at 8:24. I missed.
I saved $150.